This channel is for educational purposes only. Please do your own due diligence before making any investment decisions.
Hi, this is Joe. So what we're going to talk about today is the ADX indicator. All right, I talk a lot about this in two different ways. Sometimes I'm looking at a low ADX condition where we sit and build energy for a big move, and we've got some ways to apply that and look for signals on that. But we also want to look for signals when the ADX is strong. All right, this is probably the most powerful part of the ADX indicator if I'm using it as a trade, especially if I want to do like a simple swing trade. We want to look for this simple way of taking a list and shrinking it down to a small number that are meeting this key criteria. All right, we're going to go through that. And if you want to learn some more about these techniques, I would suggest starting with my book. You can click the link in the description. It gives, it'll pop the window up and it'll give you a lot of detail on the book. All right. Also, if you do enjoy this content, please hit the like button and also subscribe. All right, I thought the best way to show this was just a single time frame, and I'm going to use multiple examples, and I'm going to do it in a lot of different time frames. All right, I'm going to start out with the spider chart on a 10-minute. Okay, now notice what we're looking for. All right, first of all, you have to understand when green is on top, green is the ADX DI indicator. All right, that is a directional indicator based on the buyers, how strong, or, if we're looking at an up move. All right, so if green is on top and above 25, then we know that the buyers are in command, and that's where we want to look for pullbacks in an uptrend. All right, now when do we want to do that? We want to do that when the ADX indicator is above 25. Now, some of my subscribers know, and if you've gone through the course, that you could look for this type of pattern where we're a little early in the situation. We haven't actually gotten the ADX to cross above. It's a little bit more of an advanced technique simply because we're looking for a reversal, but we've got green DI starting to kick in. Now, once this crosses above 25 and stays above there and confirms every new high, we can play for pullbacks in the trend. Now, there's one other thing that I would do and look for when I'm playing a pullback using the ADX above 25. All right, and that is I'm looking for these moving averages to be pretty much moving together. Now, there are times where the 18 will rise at a slightly faster rate, all right, and you can still get some trades off that. But for the most part, we're looking for this type of situation. Do you see how these are basically parallel? I mean, they're just moving up, and you can see that price is not getting crazy above the 18. It's what I call a sequential wave, where it moves up, and once it gets a little too far away, it pulls back, gets away a little too far back, pulls back. See how we're not getting away from the channel line? If I were to take a, draw in an upper channel, we've got most of these kind of connecting. So we want that kind of look. And the easiest way to look for that is watching these moving averages and make sure that they're kind of moving up. Again, they're not going to be parallel, but in a sense, they have that kind of look. Now, if you notice what happens, we get this ADX to drop below 25, and now we've got a flat 18 at this point. Even though this is rising, now this is flat. It's essentially, if I'm looking to be a swing trader buying pullbacks, this is a no zone. This is a no buy zone, no trade zone. We're not trading during this period. This is how you get chopped up. All right. Avoid those periods. If you start doing this, if you start looking out, this is on a 10-minute chart, but this can be, and I'll show you, it could be on a number of different time frames. If we get that to take place, then we're looking for pullbacks in the trend. Now, if you notice what happened here, we got the ADX going again. All right, and we had kind of this little pause play that kicked off the move where green DI finally broke out. It was almost a low ADX condition breakout. All right, so that's a different video. But now, if you notice, we didn't get any real opportunities. You see how it didn't go back to the 18? It didn't pull back. It just kind of kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And you have to recognize that's what's taking place and realize that this isn't an this isn't, even though the ADX is above 25, this isn't really offering the type of signal that we were getting here. So you still have to do some analysis. You can't just say ADX is greater than 25, buy. All right, it won't work, or even buy when it gets to the 18. You have to kind of understand what you're looking at. So that's what these videos are for. Now, there is a thing you can do. I would suggest if you want to do a screen, do screen for higher time frames. So let's say the higher time frame is a 10-minute, all right, and the lower time frame would be 2-minute, all right. So you could do a greater. This is greater than 25 ADX, all right, and this one is less than 25 ADX. All right, now, it's not going to be perfect. All right, now most people using this, they're going to have a weekly, daily. All right, weekly is the higher time frame, daily is the smaller time frame. And you go and you look for greater than 25 on the weekly and less than 25 on the daily. So what is that doing? What that's doing is essentially looking at the higher time frame during this pause, this consolidation. If you notice, we had a lot of strength to the upside, and then we got into a low ADX condition here. But if we went to an hourly chart, we'll just take a quick look at the hourly. You can see that we had actually, and this didn't have the strong ADX condition in place. I think I'm looking at the right spot. It doesn't look like it was there. Well, actually it was during this pullback here. So we've got the ability to look for the higher time frame. Just make sure you understand one thing: the higher time frame has strong ADX, the lower time frame has a low ADX. All right, let's look at another example. So this is QT holdings or Q2 holdings, and we've got a really strong downtrend on a weekly chart, and then we've got a really strong uptrend. All right, now there's multiple opportunities. Once this gets above the 25 area and stays above 25, we can look for rallies in a downtrend to keep playing this. Now, again, I don't play off one time frame. If I see this develop, then I'm looking for a low ADX or a rally, an ABC rally on the smaller time frame, in this case the daily, and I'm going to look for entries to get in on a down move. All right, and you can do that even as a swing trade. You can get in and you can play for one leg. All right, there's nothing wrong with doing that as a swing trader. All right, this is still going to be an incredibly powerful tool to shrink your universe down. Now, if you notice, we go through this transitional phase, and I want to make sure you understand, during a transitional phase, we shouldn't have green or red in control. We have low ADX condition in place, and neither the buyers or the sellers are in command. And then during this period, we wait to see, is this a continuation to the downside, or is it a reversal? In this case, it was a reversal. We crossed above the 25 line, and then we got things kicked off to the upside, and we can play pullbacks on this weekly chart using the daily as our entry tool. All right, let's look at NVDA. Now look at this on the daily chart. See all the noise? I mean, this is a stock that people love to talk about and trade, but you went through a pretty significant period where it would have been pretty hard to make any money in this stock. You'd have been chopped up to death. Easy way to avoid is if ADX can't get above 25, we don't play. Well, now all of a sudden, look at what happens. Look at how all of a sudden we are respecting the 18. That's the key to this indicator. This indicator, when it gets above 25, is essentially telling you that there's a very high probability or an increased probability that the 18 is going to be respected on a pullback. All right. So now we got to be careful when it gets above 50 or 60. If it gets above 60 or 50 or 60, then we could go through a little bit more of a complex correction. But what we're looking for is that perfect little area where ADX is between 30, call it 30 and 50. Right? We get it between 30 and 50. We can play pullbacks in between and have a decent amount of confidence that this is going to act as pretty strong support. So we want to be on the lookout for that for sure. All right, let's look at EMR, another one off the daily chart. We had a move to the downside with a lot of strength here, and then look at this little ABC rally. All right, now it shows up a lot more on the hourly chart, and then we look for our entry to the downside, and we play that for a leg if we want to. All right, now there are times when this can come in handy for getting in a trend. All right, if you want to play this and you like the bigger picture monthly and weekly and you get in and you want to trail and see how far it goes, there's nothing wrong with that. Notice how the ADX crossed above based on the buyers here, and then we got pullback, and then we haven't really had a pullback since then. But you want to take advantage of those times when you have them, because it could be a situation where, especially if you're playing the trail game, the trail and scale, which is what I teach my subscribers, then you could have a piece left in this that just keeps trending to the upside. All right, and that is ideal when we're looking for that. Look at Bitcoin. Now, this is actually on the monthly chart. Look at the way this is played out. So we go through a declining phase and a transition. The transition being we were below the 18 and then the 18 turns around. Now, one of the key things I say all the time is that we want low risk. We don't want low price, all right? Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is the low price of the turnaround, all right? Even this is a low price of the turnaround. But we don't have low risk yet. Where we get low risk is where this moves up and we show true strength to the upside, all right? And then we get a pullback close to trend support. That's ideally low risk. It's very low risk. Now, it doesn't hurt that we've got MACD kind of complementing it, all right? Doesn't hurt that the price volume action is also confirming. I like having the tails. All those are positives, but this is where I'm going to find it. All right, I'm looking for that situation. And you can see these two beautiful pullbacks on the monthly. Yeah, I'm going down to the weekly for an entry, maybe even the daily to time it. But the reality is this is where I'm going to find it. Look at something like gold on a weekly chart. See how we had a lot of kind of noise. We went up and then came back down. We weren't really respecting the line. And then we got this big breakout through 200. And then look at every time we pull back now, we seem to have respect. Now, the ADX got above 50 here. Now, it got above 50 here too. But we're now, it looks, I mean, after the move that we've had, it could be more of a complex correction starting here. That, you know, we get some kind of a consolidation taking place. And maybe we break the 18. But what we do is we don't need to guess. What we can do is wait, go to the smaller time frame. And if this is forming a low ADX condition, we can play a breakout if it happens. If it doesn't happen, then we don't trade it. All right. So don't assume anything that has strong ADX has to be traded on a pullback. We use everything that we've talked about. But this is where you're going to find really, really high quality trades. All right. And then one thing I just want to show. All right, now this is off the interdays, and this happens on a regular basis. Do you see how we're getting these really strong, that's based on the sellers, that's based on the sellers, based on the sellers, based on the sellers, and this is based on the buyers. But what I want to point out is when you get these big gaps like this, you get a monster move and the ADX really gets going, but it's an exhaustive signal, and I wouldn't necessarily play it off of the rally, right? I mean, you would have gone 1 for 5 here. I mean, this one did work. This one did not. This one did not. This one did not. Now, most of the time, what will happen is you'll get confirmation from the smaller time frame. You'll never get in these trades because the smaller time frame won't trigger. But at the same time, just to avoid the kind of anguish and problems that you can have is when you get these big gaps on the interdays, be real careful about saying, oh, I got a high ADX condition. I want to play the first rally towards the 18. The other thing you can notice is that these aren't really trading in a parallel fashion. It's a lot more accelerated with the 18, right? So just be aware of those things, and I think that'll help you a lot. All right. Use this, and I think it'll really help you pull back trades.